Welcome to Creative Current, a podcast for those of us who want to get caught up in our creativity.
We're Jess and Jen, two friends and creatives who met in tech and realized we both spoke the same language of possibility, imagination, and creation.
We believe that creativity is a living force, powerful and magnetic. Like a current, you don't control it. And when you stop fighting it and let it move you, you realize it leads you to where you wanted to be all along.
This podcast is about staying with that current through self-doubt, uncertainty, and loneliness, and trusting that your creativity is worth it.
Over the next 12 weeks, we'll be following the artist's way, and we'll be discussing the chapters and our experiences doing the work. We see it as an opportunity to explore the depths of creativity and its connection to life's biggest questions and possibilities in a collaborative, community-building way.
We're really glad you're here. Jen, welcome. Here we are. We're at week 7 of The Artist's Way. And the title of this chapter is called Recovering a Sense of Connection. And so the themes in this chapter, just to get our readers on board, are about listening to your inner voice and getting quiet, perfectionism, how it comes up and blocks us, taking risks, jealousy, how that gives us information. And then we had a long task list. So lots of interesting things in this chapter.
A question is forming as I'm thinking here. And obviously Julia put all of this content into a chapter for a specific reason. Like all of these themes play together. But as far as a question goes, I'm curious, Jess, in reading this and pondering this week, how did you notice the connection between your ability to listen and identify your own voice, your own thoughts, and then inputs coming your way that may create like jealousy or standards that make you feel the need to be a perfectionist? Like, what is the interplay you see between those in your life?
Well, one thing I realized, and I was getting there this morning with my morning pages, was in the past, it was very easy for me to experience jealousy for a long time when I was younger. And I apologize to all of my siblings publicly. Oh my gosh, I think it just got in the way, mostly of like family dynamics, not so much my friends. But it's like when I feel jealousy or if there's perfectionism, normally there's just so much shame with it that comes up and just shuts me down. But I think, similar, Jen, you were talking about this, I think it's episode 3 of, did I actually listen to the anger or did I listen to the jealousy? And I think I'm still learning how to slow down and do follow-up of, did we create the space to bring in a compassionate version of ourselves to sit and talk with the part that is feeling very jealous, to understand what's behind that. And a big unlock for me in the last few years was understanding that I could also have what I am envious about. And for whatever reasons, for a long time, I sometimes didn't think it was possible for me to have what I wanted. Not that because I only thought there was like one of it. Sometimes it's just like, if I don't have the whole map out in front of my life, I'm like, how am I ever going to do that? And more, as I feel like I'm stepping into my own power, I'm like, oh, all I need to do is trust and just take the next step. Let's just listen and let's ask myself and let's get in touch with the universe for guidance. You know, what would be a next step in this direction? And that's all I need to do. So it's kind of a long way to say that right now I'm in the process of integrating the conversation that needs to follow from perfectionism or jealousy.
Wonderful. Oh, okay. Something you said brought up a thought in there. I'm not trying to say that I'm not a jealous person, because when it comes to things that I want in my life and like people not connected to me, usually like people that I'm watching from afar who have created things or written books or like have art practices or businesses that I admire, like I definitely feel jealous of those. And I don't actually think the journey is to not be jealous anymore. I think it is to like really recognize and listen Like, I hope I'm always jealous because I think that's like, I mean, not stay in the jealousy, but I mean, I think
Yeah.
that's like a hunger and a desire, and it's pointing you towards growth. And I usually now, um, like yesterday I got an email in my inbox, a newsletter from someone who I'm so fond of. And I read it and I loved it, but like my primary feeling was also jealousy. I was like, "Oh, I want to have been able to write that letter, that newsletter." But
Mhm.
then I was like, and I am so grateful that she has done the work to be in the place to be able to write that, because now I can see that that's possible, and I just will keep
Yeah.
calling that in for myself.
Mm.
And that is also like my work right now is really like flipping that over for myself, because one of my hardest things with publishing my newsletter or on LinkedIn is the fear of making other people jealous, because
What would that
I,
mean?
oh, like making, oh my gosh. Like, this is like something that I just is so, I'm so afraid of, and it feels so risky to say for some reason. I don't know how well I'll be able to articulate it, but it's like I know like people have distanced themselves from me when they feel jealous of something that I'm doing or creating or building or some version of success that I have that they want. And it is the most painful. Like that has been the most painful thing for me with like relationships and friendships and things is um because everyone will like to say that like people will support you and like, women support other women, and I want that to be true and I see it happening more and more, but I also like in my personal story have had definitely been too much, try too hard for something, actually achieve something, and people couldn't stick with me with it, like, and I knew it was because they had the same desire and didn't see it through.
Yeah.
I'm
So
nervous talking about this, but because it's like very sensitive, and it feels so close to sounding like egotistical or it's from a bad place, but I'm like, really, there's just like a lot of hurt there, because
totally.
that scares it. Like that is the thing that holds me back almost every time, is afraid of being like that fear that like doing something, creating something, achieving something is like going to hurt somebody else. But I guess it's really hurt me by them leaving or pulling back from me.
Yeah. Yeah, Jen. Well, first of all, I just want to acknowledge and let I just have like little tiny inch questions for you that might be helpful for others, but just as like a friend, as someone that wants to get to know you better, and obviously just stop if you don't feel comfortable, but I am so curious, like what does it feel like to be on the other side of that? I feel like for so many of us, it's so easy for us to think about when we're in jealousy or when we're in lack, but oftentimes we're not, like I feel a little bit of out of touch of being, being in that position where others might be jealous. So, Jen, if we just broke this down, what do you think that part of you, what's the sadness when somebody is distancing themselves from you because they wish they had more of something that you had?
I'm really starting to cry here. So it's uncontrollable,
Okay.
but I mean, I just like,
Yeah.
I think for someone like me, I think that the, okay, so like when I think back, like, I mean, there have been like a lot of things, like, because I am a creator and I like publish things and I share things and I build things and I create things and I bring people in, whether it's a business or not. I think that there's this perception sometimes to like my friends and close people to me that I don't need them because I have all these like other people out here, or I have some like audience, or I have something, and I'm like, but like you are my people, you are the people that I need. I don't Like, I am creating things and putting them out into the world because I believe that's the best thing to do. But like, I need actual support from like the people that I care about. And like, I don't like that void is not filled up by like having an email list that you like. I need actual people. And like, I think that they're like, that's just like my best understanding of it is like that people perceive people who like put themselves out there of like having some like type of access to things. And like, I think other people do. And I think this is Jess. We've talked about this a lot in our Marco Polos of like other podcasts where people do like guest interview podcasts and people like bring on these guests who they're friends with and they talk and like, they're like, and I know this person, we met here, we met here. And that the reason why that bothers me so much, like that's jealousy in me. I'm jealous of that because I don't have that. I like literally don't have that. I mean, I have my like handful of friends and my family and I'm kind of like at capacity, you know? Like I have had a network at other periods in my life. So anyways, I think like that's the thing is I feel like people who are not putting themselves out there think that the reason why somebody is able to put themselves out there is because of some connection or something that they have. And really it's just that they're like being brave enough and courageous enough to do it and feeling out there. And then the doing it, the putting
Yeah.
yourself out there, like posting the flyers, like sharing the link to your thing that you're creating, like that is what brings in more people to you. But it's not the same as the actual like relationships of people who like know you. And so when those people disappear, when
Yeah.
you're putting yourself out there, it's really hurtful because there's just like a void.
Mm. Okay. One more just point of clarification, if it feels okay. Also, crying is cool. And I love you. And I just like respect you so much for just being so deep and open right now. And everything that you're saying is so beautiful. Um, I feel like we're hearing from Jen's heart, which is a really cool experience. Um, but Jen, so it's like you were saying that there's all these people, the newsletter subscribers, you need your people that are close to you. They're close to you for a reason. What do they, what do you get from them? What do you absorb from them? What do they give you that you love, that you want to be around?
I don't know. Okay, so that's a good question. Because I think I also feel like I need to take a step back for a second because I think like what I am saying is like also it's like exposing the complexity of this because it's like obviously the friends, like the really good friends, like they will show up for you no matter what.
Yeah.
Right? But then
Yeah.
there's like all these other people. There's all these like other people that are just like part of your life and those relationships. And in my experience, they like really matter. Like
Mm-hmm.
they're like the people that you do life with. And like at the end of the day, like that's like your family. Like it's your actual family or it's your chosen family if you're doing every day with them. And those are the people that might not always, that might step away. They might not see
Mm-hmm.
themselves as part of your inner circle. They might not like have that duty. They might be like, "Oh, she seems fine. She's doing this thing, so she's
Mm-hmm.
good."
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I don't really but the people like I had two friends a couple months ago, maybe a month ago or so when I like republished all of my new website and like relaunched my newsletter and looped in all of these other people. It was like a very vulnerable and exposing time.
Yeah.
And so I had two friends who showed up so wonderfully for me. One of them is like on my newsletter list, like follows my work. And so she's like very familiar and like we Marco Polo and she like didn't open my newsletters, but she like Marco Poloed with me and she specifically like waited to open my newsletter until we had Marco Polo, and she had like spoken so much life into me about what she sees into me. And like, no matter what you put out on there, like, this is what I know is true about you. Like, this is what I see in you. Basically, she was saying, like, there's no way you could outsell yourself on your website because this is how valuable you are, you know? And it was just such a gift because she like specifically said at the beginning, she's like, I'm not looking at your website or your newsletter because I want to respond to you as a friend. You know, I don't want to like give you feedback on this. And then she did later and like whatever. So it was like that was so wonderful. Um
Yes.
I felt so loved. And then my another friend who I have who she's like my motherhood bestie, like ride or die, you know, like um and like we talk about our careers and work and stuff, but just in a different way. You know, like in a different way. Our careers are so different from each other. And we talk more about like navigating it alongside motherhood. So she's not on my newsletter, but she had been asking me to tell her more because this is what I do is I just don't usually talk about those things to my friends. And so I finally shared with her when I was really emotional and feeling vulnerable about all of this, just how I was feeling. I was like, I'm gonna just like let her in. And her response before she sent me another Marco Polo was she Googled me because she was like, she didn't know what my website was, you know, and so she Googled me and she like read all this stuff and saw my website and then responded back to me like so encouraging and gracefully of just like this is like amazing. I love that you have this part of yourself. She was just like this all makes so much sense to me, like knowing you in this way where I think I had this fear that I was just gonna all be too much.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, two very different reactions. So it's like there's not a specific way, but I think both of them felt so true that they just cared about me and wanted to
Mm-hmm.
support me and like
Mm-hmm.
weren't yeah, they both showed up for me so well.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I have chills. That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Jen, for sharing those. It's even giving me ways and ideas to show up for friends of mine, like completely in my loving. And it sounds like they just are with you in a way that is unconditional loving, loving someone no matter where they're at and seeing the beauty and their essence and their soul for everything that they are now and what they can become. Oh, okay. That's beautiful, Jen. I, yeah, thank you for sharing.
Yeah, so hopefully yeah, I'm glad that I got the chance to share that part. So thank you for
Mm,
asking because I think it really I would feel not good after the recording if it felt like I was saying like it sounded like I had no support because that's not what I'm saying.
no, yeah,
What I'm saying is, but there's still this like the fear that like it won't be there. It still exists,
yeah,
you know?
yeah, yeah. That's very real. It's funny doing a podcast, right? Because there's nuances to everything we say, I think.
Yeah.
And it's just, that's like one of the harder things I've had to grapple with doing a podcast. And so, and I try not to think about listeners when we're in our conversation. I just want to be present with you, Jen. But something I would like to say, it's like whenever we share stuff, everything is so nuanced and people are just getting little clips. But no, Jen, I think that, yeah, that felt very 360-esque as much as it could.
Okay. Well,
So
thank you, Jess, for leading it full circle.
my pleasure.
Um all right. So, Jess, I think the most alive part for me in this
Uh,
chapter was talking about the listening, and particularly this line at the beginning, how she talks about how art is not about thinking something up, it's about the opposite, getting something down. Um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and this like idea of downloading or channeling. Um, and I'm wondering, like what your experience is with listening, if there's times that it feels easier or harder for you or uncertain.
Yes. I find that when I do the morning pages, that is a form of listening. And I think, I mean, people around me say that I am very intuitive and I feel like there's a pretty good connection to my listening. And sometimes I think there's areas where I am blocked from it. I'm trying to think about where I want to take this. Gosh. Um, well, speaking of listening, okay, Jen, actually, I'm just getting an intuitive thought right now on this on live. But okay. I feel okay, you know what I was thinking about? This is kind of crazy. This is okay. See, I feel like I ask you questions of things that I have things to say about. And I'm sort of imagining that you also do that for me, but you have something behind that is, and I feel like that's very natural. And so I actually don't feel like I have, like, I'm like, oh, did I have anything prepared that's good about the listening? I don't. And it's a good challenge, I think, to, I'm trying to, I'm, so anyway, I'm like, wait, actually, I want to ask this back to you.
Oh yeah, I mean that's funny. This one I feel like I do have a lot to say, but I thought maybe you might be able to more like eloquently say it. I feel like I right now at this stage of my life feel like I could be like the poster child for like listening and getting like downloads. Like it literally is happening so easily. And I think when I was thinking about this podcast, I was like, what has changed? Like what has changed to allow this? Because I agree that I have always been intuitive. I've always been sensing, and I have so many stories of this from like early in my life. But lately, it's changed a lot. And I have a very interesting hypothesis
Ooh, I want to
of
hear it.
what has
I want to know.
happened. Okay. Let me try to be as concise as possible. Okay. So I would say that my form of listening comes through like seeing. Like I get visualizations.
Mhm.
Okay. And I see things. And right now in my life, so I'll start with what it looks like right now, which is really good and useful. And then I'll say how I think it came. So now I have like probably 5 or 6 different projects that I am actively working towards and building in one way or another. Okay. And it is so crazy now how I can like literally get an image and know exactly what projects it's for and like what problem it solves for that project. And so I'm just creating these banks of information and literally like every thought I get about it, every picture I get it, I'm like, what? Okay, like how does that turn in? How does that answer the project? And I write it down. And so I am like, even though I'm not like sitting at my computer all the time, like working hard, I feel like I am making so much progress and momentum on these projects because I'm not getting like random ideas, or at least now I don't write off anything that comes into my mind as a visualization as a random idea. I think I used to shut things down when I would get ideas because I'm like, I can't handle that. I can't handle that. Like I can't it doesn't make sense or it doesn't feel like if it didn't feel connected all of a sudden, I would sort of push it away because I felt overwhelmed with what I already had on my proverbial plate, which recently just in my last week's newsletter was just like, I hate that entire metaphor of having a plate that can be too full. Like it doesn't exist. And partly because of this, I'm like, my plate's not too full, but if I like actually look at that like image or the metaphor that's coming through, I'm finding that it aligns and it answers the questions that I've been asking about these different projects. And that gives me so much confidence that this information is coming to me from a source
Mhm.
and that I am just this vessel to carry it through. So it makes me feel much more trusting.
Mhm.
It makes it feel so much more exciting because I'm like, oh, I don't have to work for this. Like, it's not a stressful thing to work on these. It's a delight. And I get up out of bed sometimes at night when I can't sleep because I'm like, this idea is coming through. And I could call it restlessness. I could call it insomnia. I could call it so many other things and say it's bad. Or I can just like get up, write down the idea, and then go to sleep.
Yeah.
And what I think has changed in the past several months is that when I started to get more of these visualizations and seeing that they were good, I also started to get a lot more nightmarish things happening in my
Mm,
mind,
okay.
usually around bedtime, or other times. And sometimes it was like induced by watching a show or a movie. So I got really sensitive about consuming things, stopped
Mm-hmm.
doing
Mm-hmm.
anything that was that. But then kept getting these, um,
Nightmares.
like nightmares
Yeah.
and vision, like ideas. And so then my initial response was to want to shut it all down, like I would like open my eyes, I would like shake my head, I would like think something was wrong with me, think I needed to somehow stop all of this creativity that was going through me because it was like making my mind go to scary places.
Mm-hmm.
Thankfully, which is a strange thing to say, but thankfully my son started to like have nightmares around the same time. And I was even like, what if I'm transmitting my ideas to him, like while he
Yeah.
sleeps?
Yeah.
And like, I need to clean up my mind. I need to clean up my mind. And so I've started to do more research on nightmares and understand them and figure out how to talk to him about them. And for a while, I was saying, like, okay, well, let's just change the thought. Like you wake up, let's just like plant some seeds of some good ideas that we start imagining those. And then I would try to do that. And then sometimes the worst outcome would happen where this thing I was trying to imagine and create that was good and beautiful would then get warped and turned creepy. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So then finally, at a wit's end moment, I was like, I am so afraid of what I'm going to see when I close my eyes. Like that is the issue, the fear. So I was like, what if I just wasn't afraid? So
Mm-hmm.
then I started to just let myself see the nightmare through and just look at it and like go further into it. And what I found is as soon as I was in it and actually looking and seeing it, it would disappear. As soon as I wasn't afraid, it would disappear. And so for a while, I've like experimented with that myself. Like, can I do that every time? Can I just look? Can I just like not feel afraid? Can I just trust that I am safe here? It's like I'm in my bed. It's that, and this, I'm trying to fall asleep. Like I am safe. I don't need to feel the fear. And it has allowed my imaginative realm to be so much more active and clear in the daytime when I'm envisioning good things. And my understanding of this is like from a somatic viewpoint when we think about trauma and how trauma is stored, a lot of the problems that come from trauma being stored in the body is the not reliving it, the not letting it shake out, the not like
Yeah.
cycling through the whole response. And so I'm like, I think that is what I was doing to myself, is like locking myself down from actually experiencing fears and uncertainties my brain was trying to process in the form of a dream. And by
Mhm.
just letting it process it and not saying it's bad because it's scary or it's bad because it's gross or it's bad because whatever, and just like letting it get out and move on has really changed. So last night I did that for my son too. That was the first time I actually told him. I was like, try
Oh,
this. Like try just looking at it and trusting that you're safe and you can be courageous and it's nothing's bad. Nothing bad can happen. And he went back into his room and he finally fell asleep.
my
So
gosh.
I didn't ask him about it this morning because I'm gonna wait, but I'm like, that's how much I believe it now that I would actually give that advice to like my child. So,
It's like the other end of the spectrum of these visions. It's like, why are they showing up here? What is the job of the fear? That's the question I have for this.
mm, I I think it's to me, I see it as like a releasing mechanism.
Mm,
Like it has to release in order to move past it. Or at least that's how I
mm,
see
mm-hmm.
it, because it's
Yeah.
like we've been conditioned to have so much fear and not see safety, so it's like you can't circumvent it unless you actually confront it in some way, I
Mm,
think.
I really like that. Yeah, the releasing. Yeah, that feels like a job that needs to be done. Oh God. It's gonna take me years to get all these tech terms out of my head, corporate terms. Okay. Ooh, wow. And do you feel that since doing that, Jen, do you feel like more creative visions have come? Like, have the nightmares lessened? Or is there just sort of a constant balance that's happening back and forth?
Yeah, I think I do get more nightmares when I am feeling more vulnerable,
Mm,
which is like
tracks.
actually proof to the proof is
Tracks.
in the pudding.
Yeah.
Pudding.
Like, oh
I'm
yeah.
like, okay, like this makes sense. So yeah. Um, but yes, I mean, yes, I would absolutely say that the helpful, supportive, like actually moving my life forward, creative visions come so easily now, like daily,
That's
weekly.
amazing. I know I told you this on a Marco Polo a few weeks ago, and it just really hit me. We have so many conversations offline, off this podcast. And it was so clear that you, as you said, are such a visionary and that these really strong visions come to you. And actually, something I've been wanting to talk about in our podcast, which we haven't yet. And one thing that this chapter does bring up again is synchronicity. And when we did, so Jen and I did a visualization exercise when we were doing branding and logo talks for this
Yes.
podcast. And I think when I'm more guided, or, okay, quick tangent, like when I run, I've gotten very clear downloads sometimes when I run in nature, particularly. There's been 4 times in my life where I've run and stopped at the base of a tree. And then all of a sudden, like so much has come through me. And it feels like whatever I needed to process was fully embodied in that
Mm.
moment. And when I've danced, I've gotten really strong downloads. Maybe right now I'm like a little bit out of the frequency of listening. Maybe that's why I have a little less to say. So anyway, back to our logo. We did this visualization exercise, and the craziest thing was that both Jen and I got the color turquoise. We both got this vision, completely separately, of this clear, warm blue water. And that is the genesis behind the picture in our logo.
Yes. Well, and the name of our logo. I mean,
And the name.
everything.
Yeah. 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 Right. 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 So,
Yes,
I mean,
that's such a good, thank you for sharing that. It's so fun.
yeah. Yeah. And I feel like it's even more, I mean, I didn't build up the story the way it was, but when we both shared that this color turquoise came up, or I think I said it first, you were like, wait, me too. And it just felt really crazy. That's right. You were trying to decide on a color for the podcast and like what it would be. So it's just wild that we ended up on the same color. And then I had also mentioned that, um, I mean, I think you knew this too, Jen, but like blue is the color of the throat chakra, which is voice. Which was just all fun synchronicities. Yeah. I'm
Oh,
like, yeah.
yes. Yeah, I mean, I think I maybe said it, but just so it's clear, I feel like I want to make this part a little bit clearer too, is that like Jess and I knew we wanted to do the podcast and we like had decided we would do the artist way as a way to frame our conversations. Um, but then all of these like logistical things that we needed to actually create and publish the podcast, like a name and like tile artwork and whatever, like we really just used our visualization as the source. It was like, well, what can we learn from this? What meaning can we get out of what we saw and the waves and the feeling? So, yeah, the color kind of came first. The waves imagery came next, and we just were looking through hundreds of pictures of water and ocean waves until we
Yeah.
found the one and we were both like, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Like that's it. And it's so cool. And then the name came after that because it was like, well, what name captures what we're trying to communicate with what we're seeing, like what we're feeling and like what we're building here. And so it was so organically created. This is not, and I just think that's
Yes.
so beautiful to me.
It was so fun when we were doing that. I just remember lighting up so many. I mean, the synchronicities really light us up, right? Because it's like,
Yes.
oh my God, it feels magical. It feels like an endorsement from the universe of just like, yes, keep going, green light, green light, green light. Um, Yeah. I mean, I'll just quickly add, like, I was painting yesterday just using watercolor, and I realized that art is a good practice for me to keep doing I had this intuition about where to put the brush, and I do this a lot where I'm like, no, but then that doesn't make sense. What am I drawing? And the intuition doesn't even know. It just knows I need to put this color here. And it's like micro practices of me surrendering to just making the brush stroke in that way, even though I have no idea, nothing to the logical mind makes sense there. But I guess just trusting and letting it unfold. And then I don't even think I'm done with it yet, but already I can see something come to life that is a total expression of my subconscious and is feeding messages back to me. And I realized like all the little artworks that I've done recently, they are all information and they stick with me when I'm out in the world doing things. It's like a song, like songs stick in our head, these watercolor drawings that I'm doing, they are also very present with me as I go about my life. So,
Oh my gosh. Wait, that's beautiful, Jess. So what can you share? Like what do you think is coming through with you in this one that you were doing yesterday?
well, okay. I mean, I guess this kind of loops around. Okay.
Is it
Sure,
next to
I
you?
can talk
You're
about
looking
this.
around, or is it
I,
next to you?
yeah, I sort of am. It's somewhere around here. It's like, yeah, anyway.
I thought you were gonna hold it up for us.
No, no, not yet. Um, okay. So my vulnerable topic today, I'm glad we don't have that much time left. Um, the jealousy. I did the jealousy map just a little bit, and I realized what was coming up was um the why that I was jealous was around um not having a relationship, being envious of relationships, romantic partnerships. This watercolor that I did yesterday was a visualization, I think, of how to unblock myself to take the next step toward just going on a date. And I guess what I was drawing was something that made the path look warm and inviting instead of fear inducing. And I think there's just some sense of like, I mean, I don't know, all this stuff can apply in our lives, right? Like perfectionism, showing up and ultimately not wanting to be judged by the other person on the other side of the table for like having this podcast, which means a lot to me. And yeah, so it and just other things like being in a period of transition. So that's what the watercolor helped with. And that's something I am moving through
Thank
at
you for
this time
sharing,
period.
Jess.
You're welcome. Yeah.
That is vulnerable. I can I ask a little digging deeper question
Yeah.
here?
Yeah.
A question. Okay, where you ended that is so fascinating to me because you made it sound like this podcast and like taking the risk to leave your job and do your own thing are like liabilities. Is that
Yes.
how you view them, especially as it pertains to the dating
Yes.
world?
Yes. And that's what I was unearthing quite a bit yesterday with my coach. Um, yes. And so then it becomes what does having a job or doing this podcast mean to my subconscious in the shadow version of it? Like what meaning am I assigning? And one of the words that came up was instability. So why would somebody, again, hypothetically, this is my own worst fear. Why would somebody want to date someone who is unstable with income at the moment? So that's like, let's just put that as one singular fear. So then what's wrong with instability? What am I making that mean about me? That I'm like maybe, you know, unreliable or I'm confusing or unsure of myself in a weird way when actually I actually feel like everything that's happening is the opposite of all those three adjectives. And where that is coming from is narratives built through systems that have just tried to keep us safe and tried to keep us, I don't know, maybe small and kind of this like
Pendant.
dependent. Yes, 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 yes. And so just all of those narratives have no underlying there's no underlying sense of trust where if we bring these qualities into the light, um actually the entire undercurrent is around self-trust here. And I feel like the only way, it's just nice to say for myself, it's a good reminder. It's like, oh my gosh, wait, the only way I've gotten here is through total self-trust. And just trusting that I will figure it out along the way and trusting that I'm going to be happier. My body is going to feel so much better. All of those things have happened. I am in so much better of a mental mindset and like health and alignment than I was just a few
Yes.
months ago. So, yeah,
Hallelujah.
it's,
Okay, Jess, holy
yeah,
cow.
yeah.
I can hardly contain my excitement to hear you say those things. Okay. I was like listening and also like itching the whole time you were talking. It's just like, oh my gosh, this feels so just like flip the whole thing on its head because I'm like, the okay, yeah, the instability, undecisive, or what was it you
Like
said?
confusing or,
Confusing. I'm
yeah,
like, no. Oh my gosh, it could not be more the opposite. Like, you are stable because you are actually proving that, like, betting on yourself, choosing yourself, being in alignment, you can live your life that way. I mean, I think that of that as a whole person thing, but if, even just from the monetary perspective, because I know that's probably what you were talking about and what
hmm,
people relate with a job, you you have contracts coming in your way, like left, center,
it's
and right.
true.
There is not a shortage of work. You're not even hustling to get these calls on the table. Like they're coming to you, you know?
It's true.
Like you are in demand. And that is, I mean, this is me seeing the landscape. I'm like, that is only going to increase, especially because you've started now. That is why you're going to be stable and why your career can be stable because you have exactly chosen to choose and like bet on yourself now rather than waiting until all the tables turned on you and you were like, oh, what do I do now? You know,
Yeah.
I mean, like you are literally stability
Mm,
because of what you're doing now and because of how much better you're feeling. Like that is stability. That is what makes a stable person. A stable person is a person who is in their right mind, who is taking care of themselves. A
mm,
stable person is not a person that is like working a good job with benefits and stressed out and angry because they really wish they were doing something else and they don't feel in control of their lives. Like that's not a stable person. You're not confusing either because you're like living in alignment. Like you are being you. You are not masking, all of the
masking.
time.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
that's confusing. Okay, what was the last one you said? The last one I had
What
something
was
to
the last
say.
one? Oh God, now I even forgot.
I don't remember right now.
Yeah.
Okay, but
Okay,
there was
whatever.
then there was something like back at the beginning that you had said, "Oh shoot, this is like a full circle moment." Where you Oh, maybe it was the jealousy. Okay, you made this comment at the beginning of the podcast, and I don't know exactly how you worded it, but you basically said like maybe because of like where I'm at in life right now, like I don't necessarily think that people are jealous of my situation or something like about like and you
Well,
sounded like you were inferring to like that you didn't have a job like because you had left.
actually, okay, what I actually, well, I'm glad you brought that up. To clarify that, I was thinking that I don't, well, this is kind of mostly I think I focus about the times and reflect more when I was jealous. I don't, if people are jealous of me at any point in my life, I've never really, I feel like I'm unaware. So it wasn't necessarily connected to like
Okay,
my
okay,
state right now at
okay,
all. Actually, I feel, I don't know.
okay,
There's like a lot of, yeah, security and groundedness. It's funny to bring up these fears, right? Because as I was saying them to you, I'm like, even just saying the shadow aspects, it feels like they're 10% 90% is the adjectives that I described in the light around self-trust. So
Hmm.
it is kind of, it's funny to give them so much space here. And I don't know. That is one thing like when we talk about these things, Jen, like perfectionism, jealousy, and she talk like anger, shame. I feel like you and I have practice in sitting on the other side of the spectrum with all of these. And so sometimes for me, it feels a little funny to like toggle a little bit more where those feelings are stuck. Um, and that's not, I don't know, that's not to reject them at all. It's just, I feel like, I was even thinking, like, why do the shadow aspects, why are they even popping up right now? And I'm like, oh, because it feels like echo chambers of so many people saying, even the other day, I was watching someone on Instagram and just by common phrase, they were like, obviously, make sure something about dating. They're like, obviously, we want you to have a job. We want you to blah, 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 as like a partner that would be stable first. And I think what they were actually trying to describe is someone with steady values and morals that's like living in alignment. But the job thing just got thrown out. And I thought, this is exactly why, like with language, I think words are so powerful, so, so powerful. Um, and it's like I pick up common phrases to use all the time that are limiting in their descriptions. And so I realized, wow, maybe the only reasons why these are kind of taking up a little bit of my subconscious here is because so many people throw this around, but that doesn't
Yeah.
mean that doesn't mean that that is truly what they believe. I think it's just an easy way to package or communicate
Yeah.
a different version as this. Yeah, it's a little hard to
Yeah, exactly.
explain,
It's probably
but
it's because like it's the nuance. Like they're
the
not
nuance.
creating their
Yeah.
piece of content to speak to that one specific thing. So they're
No.
not being careful of like every other nuance that like might fly under the radar when they talk. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that's so true because like even just thinking about you in this situation, I think one of the easiest mental games to play in a situation like that to get yourself out of it is be like, well, what would I find attractive in somebody else?
Yeah,
And it's like, yeah,
totally.
you wouldn't choose to be a partner with someone who was like, I mean, you wouldn't want to choose somebody who is like in denial of their self and like believes that they just need to keep like pushing the boulder up the hill, for like no unknown reason. But also, it would be totally simplifying everything to be like, well, I want a creative person who's doing their own thing. Because I mean, the whole earth is covered with the middle ground between those two things. Do you know what I mean? Like, you
Yeah,
want
yeah,
somebody that like believes in what they're doing and is committed to something and that like makes values aligned decisions and that can look any sort of way. So it's like, that's why it's like you wouldn't, that's why, you don't judge a book by the cover. Don't like, not go on a date just because of somebody's career listed. You know what I mean? There's like so many ways to live a good life.
yes,
So,
yes.
but the choosing those things that sound really good and safe and stable when they're in opposition to what's true for you
Mhm.
is not. But you mean you can have a stable career and an aligned career at the same time.
Absolutely, absolutely. Uh, this is fun. Okay,
It's always fun. Jess, should we
it's
wrap it
always
up?
fun. Yeah, let's wrap it up.
All right. Well, we'll see you next week for week 8 of The Artist's Way. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, everybody. Have an aligned week.